Welcome to Fire Engineering Radio and to our show, Pride and Ownership, The Love for the Job. I'm your host, Chief Rick Lasky. The very first show we did, I made a remark on how fire engineering has always been progressive, and they're always on the cutting edge when it comes to training and making things work in the firehouse for you and getting you the best things possible when it comes to doing your job in the fire service, whether you're a chief or brand new firefighter, anywhere in between. They do an incredible job. Well, they have created something that I just think is unbelievable, and I simply call it, I might get in trouble for this, but it's a good comparison, is MySpace for firefighters, man. You know, you go to, just like you did for this show, you probably saw it already, when you get to Fire Engineering's homepage, upper left-hand corner, what you're going to see is the second tab over, say, Community. When you click on that, you're going to get to what they call the Fire Engineering Training Community. Join it. It's free. You can create your own page, your own forums, your own groups. I've got a Pride and Ownership group on there. Chief Salka's got a leadership group. We've got one for the pipes and drums. You've got, the groups. Some of and you can get in on these, and you can have discussions with these folks, and they're from all over North America. The groups are incredible. You've got 1403 training. You've got truck work. You've got tactics. People. There's one for photographers. There's one for the honor guard and pipes and drums. It goes. Tech rescue, structural collapse. It's absolutely something you've got to look at. It's easy to do. You can set up. You can upload pictures, videos. John Buckman uploaded a video in Indiana of a fire with some exposure problems. That's just incredible. John's a great guy, but just incredible video that John put on there. So this is something you got to look at. This is just so freaking cool, man. I don't know how else to say it. It's just, it is. It's already, I think, we were talking with Peter. It's been up for about a week or so, and there's 300 something members and close to 400, and every day people join. They're obviously like anything else. It's a monitored site to make sure nobody does anything, inappropriate. But just absolutely what training. Forrest Reeder from on the south side there has got a training, like a site for exchanging training officer information, training division information, and lesson plans and classes, and just stuff that the training safety officer is going to do. You've got people from all over the place thrown in there, and it's awesome. So I just wanted to get that out there. Please take a look at that and have fun with it, man. I'm telling you, I am. Today, we've got a very special guest. This man's been a mentor of mine forever, and Chief Tom Freeman is with the Lyle Woodridge Fire District. And we'll clarify this when we get Tom on here in a second, whether it's south side or southwest side or west side of Chicago. But Chief Freeman started out with the Evergreen Park Fire Department as a cadet decades ago, and I don't want to make him that old. He's not, but teaches with the University of Illinois Fire Service Institute, the Illinois Fire Chiefs Association. I know he has served on the governor's task force there for terrorism, for Homeland Security. He's done some incredible things with the team there. If you've been through any of my classes, you hear me mention three people all the time in my life, and that's Jack McCaslin, Chief Jack McCaslin, Chief Eddie Enright, and Chief Tom Freeman, and three people that mean a whole lot to me and have been there for me through some great times, and have been there for me, especially Tom, through some tough times, and true friends, true brothers. But Chief Freeman, Tom, welcome to the show, buddy.
Chief, I'm humbled by the introduction, and I'm very glad that I was at the tail end of those individuals you mentioned, because I can't say enough about Chief Enright and Chief McCaslin, and boy, to bring up the tail end, that's a real tribute, and absolutely you were in there. You say I'm a mentor of yours, pal. We've been together a long time. You're a real prince. We've crawled down some hallways and had a good time. In fact, I hope you enjoyed a coffee cake I brought you this morning, and I'm looking forward to it. You mentioned your fire engineering website. Hopefully people dial into it. If you just go to the homepage even today, being a student of this business as you and I are, and you look at the fire picture there from Woodbury, New Jersey, that they have, and you read the smoke, and you study what you're looking at in that picture, and if you look closely, as we often tell people in our classes and on the job. You look closely at that picture on Fire Engineering's website today, and you can see the firefighter demon coming up through the through that picture, as it appears on your website. You look at pictures, you study them, you just become a student of this business, and amazing some of the things you see, and it's right there on the website even today. So tremendous MySpace opportunity that you mentioned earlier, Rick. I can't say enough about what you're doing with fire engineering in Penwell.
Well, and it's an incredible, Tom, this thing is just so cool. I was talking, and I forgot to mention to the folks out there, I usually do at the end, if you get on that page, the web page in general, but especially with the fire engineering training community, if you have any hiccups or any questions, any technical questions, or just questions in general, obviously you can go to Chief Halton at Robert H at Penwell.com. And make sure you tease him about Robert instead of Bobby. I still give him a hard time about that. But the man to go to is Peter Parochial. Peter's email is peterp at penwell.com. And if you've got any questions, he's the man on the mountain to go to. He can help you, or if not, he'll get the answer for you. But Tom, it is just, I'm telling you, buddy. I looked at that last week for the first time, and I was like, this is incredible. And you mentioned something about crawling down the hallways. I have to tell a quick story. It's kind of funny because there's people in there's calls in your life, and you know this, Tom, that there's incidents, there's fires you've been at where I tell stories about being there with Tom Schervino, Chief Tom Schervino with Mac, and then riding out with Eddie. And you introduced me to Eddie Enright, and I'm indebted to you for that because that's
one of the fire service legends.
Oh my God! When you talk about we've talked on this show before about calling someone a prince, and that there's really, you can't really refer to anybody any higher than that when we talk about it. That guy's awesome. But I remember when you said crawling down hallways, I'll never forget some of your guys the first time, working a good job with you, and they're in there and they're like, is it to the left? Is it to the right? Is it to they're trying to find the fire, and they said this guy in a white helmet and coat crawled up next to him and said, it's to the left, and then crawled out. They're going, how the hell did he get in here first of all, without a pack on? Secondly, Jesus, how did and it was just, and it was one of those things that, and just that kind of, leadership stuff you talk about in the fire ground. That I remember this one lieutenant saying, I knew we had a fire chief. We had a real fire chief when he did that. Not the fact that he crawled into a burning building with us, but he acted like he'd been like. It's kind of funny, Tom, when we talk about guys yelling on the radio and screaming and how I'm getting excited. And I refer to like Lou Holtz when he talks about why he doesn't want someone to do an end zone dance when they score a touchdown. He wants them to act like they've actually been there before.
Well, absolutely, and I trust that Peter will edit out the fact that I was in there without a mask on.
Well, maybe it was pre-NFPA standards.
Thank you. God bless. There you go. Woof, boy, oh boy. But
but you know what I'm talking about.
It's absolutely the truth. And a fire is a significant event, but it shouldn't be such a big deal that the time to run is when the walls are falling down. We have to realize that people are watching you, and it's part of our development and our leadership of our folks. They're looking to you for direction and guidance, and that confidence and that decisiveness on the fire ground. And it's critical that you be able to maintain your composure. There's rarely a time that you need to scream and yell, especially at people, fire ground or otherwise. And the fact of the matter is they're looking for that calm head when things are really going bad and turning south on you. They're looking for people to step forward. And oftentimes in this business, as in the absence of good leadership, people will follow anybody that steps to the forefront. Well, we need to make sure that we've got confident, competent people that are in charge on the fire ground, because they're making life and death decisions, and that's there's no greater position to entrust and no greater charge to put our people in than to be responsible for the lives of other folks on this job.
Well, and Tom, you and I think we've both been in there before. When you're in there and let's just use the phrase crawling down a hallway. And like I said before, you and I are both that way now, that, you put your pack on, you put your face piece on. We're some of the best examples of saying, look, we did some pretty silly and stupid things early in our career, and we've learned from it. Bring your tools, put your pack on, do the thing, train, take care of your guys. But you've been in there, I know I've been in there, where you hear the guy outside running the show screaming and hollering, and you're going, geez, what, it's like, how bad is this that I'm in here that, and you're one of the ones I think that first taught me, or gave me the phrase that I use, that you didn't light it, it's not your house, calm down. I mean, we're the emergency people,
Let's go about our business. We've got people, and, we're seeing it here in our own organization. We're literally turning over centuries of experience. And that's an awesome issue. God bless them. They've spent their 20, 30 years in this job. They've paid their dues. They were a cornerstone of the organization, and they're entitled to not only their retirement, but to a good, healthy retirement and the entitled benefits that come with it. Now, with that, though, Rick, we've got a lot of people that are moving up, that they're coming in and surfacing that want to replace those centuries of experience, and they've got centuries of aspiration as they move up, but we have an obligation to make sure we pass on that experience to them and make sure that when they look to us for that direction, when they look to us for guidance, that they see a decisive figurehead, that they see a leader, not a manager, a leader that can direct them in some of the worst times that they're going to encounter. We did stupid things when we were younger, and we went through that 3 to 5 year firefighter phase where we were the most dangerous person that ever walked the halls of the fire station, because there was nothing you could be told. There was, you went from not knowing anything to knowing everything, and then after 5 or 6 years, you began to realize, there was a few things, and now the longer we're in this business, the more we realize how much we really don't know. But there's rarely is there a time when when that type of that screaming and that breakdown needs to take place on the fire ground.
Well, and what do you tell? I mean, and you've been teaching for a long time, and I've just watching you, and not to embarrass you, I mean, but I used to say it about Tommy Schervino, that ball of energy, just watching the students light up around him. And I tell people to this day when I talk about teaching and teaching with, that first time or first experience teaching with Jack McCaslin, where that's what I was doing. And I remember sitting down at FSI, we were doing some hands-on topics, smoke, all this stuff in the high-rise building there. And we're sitting there, and you're doing one of your deals with the group and your lecture, and you go, and you looked at me and you said, all right, Rick, what do you got? Anything? And I went, can you go back over number 7, what you just covered? I'm over there taking notes. I'm going, oh crap, I'm supposed to be teaching too. But what do you tell, Tom? What advice do you give to that young firefighter that's like, maybe how about that 3 to 5 year guy or gal? What do you tell them to prepare for the role of company officer? What would you want to see as a fire chief that young firefighter do?
Well, what you just alluded to is critical. Be a sponge. Come in and listen and learn from these people that have been there. The good news is we're going to fewer fires. The bad news is we're going to fewer fires.
Right.
And with that, we're losing experience. And with the number of fires, and there's some terrible trends that continue. We're at almost 30 fire ground line of duty deaths to date. If we trend that out, Rick, that's going to annualize about 130 line of duty deaths for 2008. We're going to fewer fires and still killing in excess of 100 firefighters a year in various situations. And we're losing that experience. You need to be a sponge. You need to listen. You need to shut up. You need to listen up. There was 4 ups that used to be tremendous advice to anybody in this business. Shut up, listen up, clean up. This is our home. We live here for 24 hours. And then step up. Step up, do your job, take charge when need be accountable, be responsible. But the best thing for that young firefighter coming in now is listen up. Shut up, listen up. Listen to the walls, they're talking to you. Listen to the hallways and the corridors, they're talking to you. Listen to the tradition and the past. And the guy sitting at the end of the table that isn't saying too much, be it the proverbial barn boss, or that officer or that chief. Listen to what they have to say. You can learn so much listening to people. Any book that you pick up, you can either learn something new or reinforce some old theory that you once learned. Well, it's no different for the new firefighter. There's so much in this business. It's not like when we started. And I appreciate your opening comment about the being around for decades. And sometimes you don't realize how long you've been involved in this.
What year did you start? Just so we throw that out there. As a cadet.
1970.
I mean, that wasn't that long ago to you and I, but to a firefighter who was born, in the 80s, in the 90s.
Yeah.
I mean, you realized you've made that flip to being a senior firefighter now.
Oh, absolutely. And Rick, to think back on it, and being a cadet and having that guidance back then, not knowing what you want to do, and it's the old, what do you want to do when you grow up? I want to be a fireman. No, you can't do both. But the fact of the matter is that is something that you have that aspiration, and you begin to look back. You mentioned the air packs. One of the greatest aids that we've received in this business has been self-contained breathing apparatus. And another one, the handy talkie. There's so many benefits, but you look back, and the job has changed, but the basic task, the basic grunt level demands of fighting fire hasn't. It's still a grunt job. It's still a down and dirty job. It's still a very difficult job, but we're much more educated. But I don't know that we're much more experienced. We have tremendous technology, and we have the greatest level of education ever available to us, but I don't know that we have that experience that we had. We don't have the fires, and are we passing it along? Are we listening to the echoes of the past? Are we listening to the guy at the end of the table? Are we passing on that rich tradition and heritage, centuries that have been put on our back? We're quick to take the baseball cap and the T-shirt, but have we earned the right to wear it? And have we listened appropriately? Have we shut up and listened up? And are we absorbing it? You stood there and you listened to the Ed Enrights, the Jack McCaslins, and there's a list of them. I've been so privileged in this career, and I didn't realize it early on, Rick, and I don't know that you did either. We didn't realize who we were actually hanging with.
Oh, my God, no.
Oh,
and Tom, you know what? You hit on something, and I wanted you to talk about it at one point today. And I want you to visit on two very special people in your life. And first, first of all, let me go back here first. Shut up, listen up, clean up, and step up. And we're going to get back to a couple of those. That needs to be an article, my friend. That is awesome.
Well, it's a case of where if you think about it, somebody comes into this job and you want them to ask questions. Don't misunderstand. It's not, hey, go sit in the corner for 12 months. Oh, no. Embrace them. Take them under your wing. Mentor them. Tell them everything you possibly can. 23 and a half hours a day, be banging compartment doors, going over things. How does this work? Now take it apart. Can we put it back together? What if? The old Walter Mitty. What if this happened? We don't do that enough. When we're driving around, when we're looking at the buildings, you can look at the attractive folks standing on the corner and just realize that they do indeed have one thing in common. They'll kill you as quick as the building that you're going to fight the fire in too.
Oh yeah.
But the fact remains that we have to have that awareness, and we're bringing in people, some of whom chose this as a profession and a calling because they're second or third generation, as riding in the back seat with your dad, hiding under his bunker coat, or they were downsized or right-sized out of the private sector, and this looked like another nice job to them with good benefits. So how are they embracing this heritage that we call the fire service? How are they embracing this noble breed? Are they going to adapt to the brotherhood? Are they going to become the brother? Are they going to be a professional firefighter, or Rick, are they going to be a firefighter in a profession?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You know what? How many times
huge difference
have you heard people just say, "Well, I'm a professional, this and all that stuff." You hit it right on the head. And one thing you said, which we had Battalion Chief Jerry Wells from Louisville on here. He did an article called "The Rookie Firefighter Preparing for the Role," and Jerry's dad, one of the most respected battalion chiefs that worked in Dallas, in the Dallas Fire Department, besides even my good friend Steve Bass. And he said, Tom, back to that comment about sit down and shut up and don't say nothing for 12 months. He said, when I was told that when I first got here, he goes, I became angry. He goes, inside I was angry. He said, you know what? I'm not stupid. I got on this job to make a difference. Please don't tell me to sit down and shut up. And you see so many people, you know, sit down and shut up and you talk when you're spoke to and all this stuff. No, you're exactly right. This is our time to grab them the very first day. And I'm going to talk about Bill Allen a little bit and what he did for me. But what I was getting to, you know, tell me, and I you know, this way we can talk about them because we won't embarrass them. Tell me about Eddie Enright, because, you know, that guy is just, golly, I wish people, Tom, one of the best things with that book is they let me put the pictures of my mentors and the movers and shakers in the fire service so people could put a face, you know, with the name. Tell me about Double E. I mean, that guy.
Well, you know, I'll tell you, there's not enough time. But the fact remains that, you know, when you point to, if you say, just give me, you know, a couple of names of people, you know, I am a hybrid of people that I've worked with and for, that I've been very, very fortunate, and the names are there, you know, McCaslin, Enright, Hojak, generations of Hojaks, you know, tremendous bosses and company officers, Hoff, McKee. Eddie is a very unique individual. He has that innate ability to ingratiate himself with a person through his level of confidence. And he only became confident through his competence. Competence, Rick, breeds confidence.
Yes.
When you are a competent firefighter, when you are a journeyman, when you know the trade, not the tricks. The tricks will get you hurt or killed. When you know the trade, when you are a journeyman, a craftsman in this noble profession, then that competence, Rick, breeds confidence. And Ed, much like, you know, you almost can't say Double E without saying Jack McCaslin. But you get a guy like that, and there's that. First of all, there's that command presence. You know, there's people that sometimes as a function of stature, and sometimes not, but they command by their presence alone. And you know those folk. I know those folk. We've worked with them. We've worked for them, and that's the, you know, who you emulate, and that's the hybrid of who you become. At any rate, Eddie has always been an individual that is quick to assist, is always there to support, but realizes that when the time comes, he is going to make the decision. He is going to call the ball. He has all of the leadership principles and traits that we espouse in this business. You know, taking the initiative, being decisive, you know, having the courage to act, being dependable and reliable and accountable for actions. You know, he's walked the walk and talked the talk, and is highly regarded because while there's no question he's been a good manager in his career, he rose to very high levels in the Chicago Fire Department, but he was a leader, first and foremost, and always a firefighter, and never lost sight of where he came from, and you know, always worked with his dad on his shoulder, and those types of qualities are just you know, he was always combat ready. His military background did a tremendous amount for his ability to be prepared, but you know, those are the types of principles and traits. They're hard to pass along. You try, and you try to do it just by showing and displaying. You know, those are some of the things that you can't tell people. You've got to make sure they witness it. They have to see.
And you mentioned, Tom, you mentioned that. I mean, interrupt you. You mentioned that earlier about watching, sitting there. You know, Chief Salka says all the time, it's the guy at the end of the table, just like you said, that's sitting there, that's very little to say, having that coffee, kind of a few gray whiskers. He's listening and taking everything in. It's the smartest guy in the firehouse.
Mm-hmm.
You said it, by watching. I mean, if you're so wound up into what do you want to do next, and I'm going to go do this next, I'm going to do this and all that, you're never going to see some of the traits that people. You're right. How do you can't? You mentioned journeyman. And I think a lot of young firefighters are not familiar with that term. When you talk about someone being if you were going to describe a fire service journeyman, what are you looking for when you say journeyman?
Fully knowing the job, Rick. Knowing his craft, not being an 80%er, knowing the job, studying, becoming a student, and constantly learning, having the head in the book, but also out on the apparatus floor, in the buildings, out in the still district. Always asking, always looking, always taking things apart, putting things back together. How does this work? What about this? Realizing that you never, ever know this business. Realizing that when you're through learning, you're through.
Yeah, exactly.
And being able to, and that's more than just, a catchy phrase, Rick. When you realize that, I've gotten to where I've gotten, and other things are beneath me. Well, you know what? If any component of this job, Rick, is beneath you, it's all beneath you then. It's all beneath you. If there's any part of this that you've gotten too good for, then it's time to move on, because you never, ever, I don't care if it's a firefighter that for his career rides backwards, and God bless, or if it's the chief of the department, the fact of the matter is, if you feel that you've gotten to a position where other components, other segments, divisions of your organization are beneath you, then it's time to leave, because then everything's beneath you.
And Tom, I use for my mentors, and I believe in giving credit where credit's due, and even when I teach my classes, and one of the many different statements I've borrowed from you is, and I remember you so many times when we would tag team and teach together, you would say, you know what, you need to learn something about this job every day. And I tell people the same thing you used to say, I learn something about this job every day.
Mm-hmm.
Pick up a magazine, take 10 minutes out of your life, whether you read an article for 10 minutes or whatever, or get to the website now. I mean, put down the Chicago Sun-Times as your morning newspaper and go to Fire Engineering's website. That should be your morning newspaper to see what's going on.
Absolutely. The knowledge out there, the vast amount.
It's there.
Rick, to say that, where did you find that out? Don't be satisfied just with how it works. Why does it do that? At 0700 or 0800 or whatever time we turn in different organizations, today's the day you're playing fireman. Don't worry about what's going on the stock exchange. Don't worry about what the NASDAQ is doing. Toes on the line. It's roll call. Today we're playing fireman. Today we're here. Today we're earning your bread and butter. Today people are counting on you. They don't want 5 mopes in a pickup truck showing up yelling Yahoo. They want the pros from Dover, and that's what you're getting paid for. Know that job. Never, ever be satisfied that, I know enough to get by. I know the rig bumper to bumper. You don't. There's always something more you can learn, and you can always make a difference. Every single individual has the ability, I believe, to make and create a positive change, even if it's just in their own company, even if it's in their own fire station. Rick, they can do it. But good God, to be a journeyman, know the craft inside and out.
One of the words you used, buddy, when you talk about a journeyman and knowing the job and being around. Diane Feldman, you've met Diane. She's wonderful.
Yeah. Great lady.
Incredible
Great lady.
Class act,
Mm-hmm.
and with Fire Engineering. And she used to give Ray Downey, what a legend, what a man, the Chief Ray Downey, a hard time because he used to refer to his portable radio as a handy-talkie. And I'm like, but he used to say right on it, handy-talkie, when Motorola put him out.
HT. They were HT or handy-talkies. Absolutely.
You mentioned Eddie, and you hooked me up with him. And one of the first times I rode with him, about 2 in the morning, we're going to a fire. And this is this guy's demeanor. What's he, 6'4" Irishman, nice and calm, unless you get a yo pal.
Oh, yeah.
You get a yo pal, you better run for your life. What a great man, but you know what?
He can outrun you.
He can. Well, he's just, you could walk with him and have a cup of coffee and visit. on the job with them big legs, them long legs he's got. It was like 3 of my short little chubby legs to these steps to keep up with him. And 2 in the morning, we're showing up on the job, and he goes, we'll walk up and goes, hey, Rick, look, we got jumpers. Hey, Battalion 3 to Maine, let's go ahead and have that there box truck get to the rear. I got some jumpers back here. and it's kind of like I want to move on, because Eddie's just move on to one of our other great officers, company officers and chiefs, because we're talking about leadership traits of officers today and company officers, and we're throwing chiefs in there too.
Sure.
Is
because they were company officers.
Oh, and that's what got them. Right? Go-to guys and gals are the ones that become go-to officers and go-to chiefs, not the mope. And that's moving into like Jack McCaslin. And I used to. You remember when I used to have fun with Mac, being one of my idols. When I used to teach, I used to imitate him. As an instructor, I would talk about different instructor traits.
Highest form of flattery.
And I still do it till this day. Every time I talk, I say, Mac had that. Here's that. You talk about a command presence. Yeah, I can remember being with Mac once. I was coming back from paramedic school, showed up at a fire. He was first in, and he goes, "Hey, Rick, how you doing, kid? Hang on a second. Oklahoma Central from 100. I got a 2-story ordinary constructed building. We got 2 lines on the fire, primary searches underway, roofs being opened this time. We're making some headway. Hey, Rick, how you doing, kid?"
Absolutely.
He could. Put Jack McCaslin back as a lieutenant or a captain, and what was it like? What do you think it was like working for that guy?
Well, I was fortunate because I first met Mac as a lieutenant, and Mac had quite a stigma about him as he came up through the ranks. You mentioned go-to. Mac was not only go-to. Mac was way ahead of his time. Mac, was the guy that was getting the education and getting the sheepskin before it was a popular thing to do, and he was the house boss. And they not only would they put the good players with Mac, but they put the people that needed a little attitude adjustment with the good Lieutenant McCaslin as well. And something, you can have good firefighters and a bad boss, and they can convert a bad boss into a good boss, or you can have a good boss and bad firefighters, and the opposite can hold true. And Mac always, cream rose to the top with Mac's company. Now, keep in mind, there's a couple of different substances that that have the same consistency as cream. But be that as it may, what ends up happening is, he was hell bent on making sure that this was his company. And if you're going to be on my company, here's what you're going to do, and here's the standard, and here's the hallmark for success. And he had a reputation of being unwavering, being fair, being firm, being consistent. But I knew him as a lieutenant, as a captain, as a chief officer, fought many fires with him, had the privilege of working side by side with him, and true journeyman in his job, knew the business, understood 2 of the basic tenets that still today exist to be a good firefighter, a good officer, and a good chief, and that is to know fire behavior and know building construction.
Oh my God, that's my...
And he was an absolute student of that, and it was critical, and passed that on. Good bosses today, Rick, good leaders today, pass on what they know. Knowledge isn't power until you impart that on somebody else. And it was always a case, whether it was through a casual conversation and subtly, or sometimes not so subtly, shifting into a classroom environment and teaching, constantly teaching. That was how people like Jack and Ed got the message across. It was always a do as I do, because I'm going to do it. I'm gonna lead by example. And they were out in front. They were big believers in string management. You can't push a string anywhere, but you can pull it wherever you want it to go. And he pulled people, both guys, but Mac would pull people behind him and pull them along and get out in front of them and say, folks, here's where we're going. Here's the direction we have to take. Mabus in Illinois has been around for a long time, but Mac was a pioneer of a mutual aid, multiple alarm mutual aid program called MAMA that was actually originated back in the 70s, as you know. With people that were, the outcast, if you will, at the time because of that advanced education, and ultimately became leaders in their organization.
Well, and don't you find, though, too, that over the years, there's people, the majority of the people just respect the you-know-what out of people like yourself and Eddie and Mac and all the leaders we're talking about, the company officers, but those that are willing to step up and have the brass axes, I'll say, to do the right thing, you're also a target because people right away they're gonna, someone's gonna be either jealous or envious or however you want to, whatever word you want to use, and shooting arrows in your balloon.
Well, yeah, but they do that, when they're jealous, that they're compensating for their own inadequacies.
Exactly.
If I know you see it in your organization, I can't be prouder of the personnel, the men and women that I'm honored here to be their leader. And we've had a paradigm by virtue that we've inverted our organizational chart. The chief is at the bottom of the organizational chart. I support what they do, but to watch the officers that are coming up today, because we're seeing a transition. We're seeing centuries of experience leaving and upcome officers, and we're very fortunate through excellent labor management that we have constraints on time and grade prior to promotion, because I feel one area that the fire service is hurting in is rapid promotion. Today you're a firefighter, tomorrow you're a lieutenant, the day after that you're a captain, and we're rapidly promoting people through the ranks at times. And they need time in grade, they need time in those positions. But to see the commitment that our officers have here at Lyle Woodridge, and the commitment and the responsibility and accountability, and realizing that, and those are two areas that if an officer is weak, aside from the street savvy, the tactical, the strategic considerations,
and Tom, I hate to interrupt, but Tom, because I was going to ask you, Tom, Fire Chief of Lyle Woodridge Fire District, and again, I know you were born and raised on the south side of Chicago. Mm-hmm. Would you categorize Lyle being on the southwest side, or? Well,
I like to call it the south side, but I always get corrected because it's you can take the kid out of the south side, you can't take the south side out of the kid, and that's the tough thing about it. And let's not forget, just 5 more days till St. Patty's, but and the wonderful south side St. Patrick's Day parade was last weekend. But the area we're in is considered western suburbs, and in DuPage County, one of the major collar counties in the Chicagoland, Cook County area, and just a very dense, very growing. DuPage County is about 1 million people, and we service an area of about 32 square miles, and some
a busy fire department.
72. We are
busy, and you got a hell of a good group of. I've been there, and I have been in fires with your guys, and there's some awesome folks there.
They're the best. They do a tremendous job. They're committed professionals, and I couldn't be prouder to be a small part of the machine. And I am. If chiefs lose sight of the fact that that they're a small part. The firefighters here do the job. They are the backbone. They make this place work. And even getting things done, at the company officer level, you can sit in your office and churn out orders all day long, but something, if you don't have the commitment of that company officer, and we do, will they always agree? No. But the fact of the matter is that they understand that this is the job. They're responsible. They have to know they're responsible for accomplishing the fire department's mission. And the only way we're going to collectively be successful, Rick, is if they accept ownership, your own pride and ownership. If they accept ownership for the department's mission, and they realize this is what we're going to do, and they move forward as a team, because that company officer is an absolute make or break guy. I mean, that's where the rubber meets the road. That accountability, experience, and attitude of the company officer is just so critical, because everything you want to do will go to hell in a handcart if the company officer wants it to go there.
Well, and I mentioned Bill Allen was one of the first. He was what an incredible lieutenant I worked for in Bedford Park on the south side there, and just defined for me my very first day. I tell the story all the time. The expectations he had for me as a firefighter. As soon as we got done with our chores, our daily duties, Chief Tom Freeman, Lyle Woodridge Fire District. You got. Let's go. You got a brand new company officer, brand new lieutenant. He comes in, sits down, and says, "Chief, you got time for a cup of coffee? Tell me how to do my job." And I mean, I know I'm here, I'm tested, but what do you expect from me as a chief? Let's talk first on the fire ground, Tom, and then in the firehouse. Or if you want to reverse it, what would you say? A young man or woman walks in right now and says, "Chief, help me out. How can I be a good officer?" What would you tell them?
Well, I'll tell you, Rick, there's a lot of commonality in the firehouse and on the street because it involves knowing your job. But the attitudes that as a chief you have to foster in an officer is that of decision-making. A company officer has to understand that they're responsible for the decisions that they make. Now, realize that not everything warrants making a decision. If there's going to be no causal impact, no consequence from it, no decision needs to be made. Company officers make many decisions. There's some that are more important than others, and they have to understand that. Not every decision is a life and death decision, and there are consequences to decisions, and sometimes a decision isn't even needed. If there's no choice, if you don't have a choice, then you don't have a decision. If there's choices, then you have to make a decision. And the company officer, Rick, has to understand that they're going to be dealt responsibility and accountability for these decisions. They've got the trumpet on their collar now, and there's going to be times when they have to blow it. They're not the buddy. They're not the guy that was sitting backwards yesterday. They're not responsible just for themselves anymore, Rick. They're responsible for the lives of the people on that company, the rolling stock, bumper to bumper. They're responsible for themselves and their people in every decision they make. But the other thing they have to understand, Rick, is they're not alone. They're not going to be strung out and hung out to dry for making decisions. They have to realize, you know what? The first bad decision that's going to be experienced. That's not the mistake. It's not a mistake. You make it again, it's a mistake.
Right.
But effective decision making can be accomplished in a variety of ways. 2:00 in the afternoon you can be a Democrat. 2:00 in the morning you're going to be an autocrat. And one thing I think we need to do as chiefs is make our company officers aware of their own strengths and their potential weaknesses. Oh, yeah, it's a classic structured oral interview question. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? They need to be aware of that, though. They need to know themselves. They need to know their inner self. They need to understand what their own strengths and weaknesses are in order to be good decision makers, in order to improve their decision-making skills, and in order to make sure that their people understand that they have the necessary knowledge to make good decisions so that when they are life and death decisions, when 3:00 in the morning they look to the boss, they look to the company officer, and there's 3 people at windows, which one gets the ladder, Lieutenant?
Right.
Which one gets the rescue, Captain? What are we going to do? Which stairwell, Lieutenant, are we going to go to? You're not going to make that call, Rick, and neither am I, because we're not there. And we have to entrust that they're going to make the right call, but only if we've fostered the attitude that they can make the right decision, that they can make a good decision, that they are decisive, deliberate, and that they build in integrity into everything that they do. But they got to understand that there's a learning curve, that they have potential weaknesses, that they're not always going to make good decisions, and they don't always have to make a decision, but we have to tell them that they are not alone in their decision-making.
And Tom, they have to also be at a point, too, don't you agree, where when you sit down and you say, look, let's talk about what just went on. This was great, but you need to work on this, to not wear their heart on their shirt sleeve. It's not necessarily have grown that thick skin, but, don't be super sensitive. Nobody's going to jump down your throat, but
it's hard though.
Once in a while, I mean,
that's hard, Rick.
I know.
How many times You and I have gone through it. We sit there and we've said it. We've told each other that, and we tell our people, it's a business decision. Don't wear your heart on your sleeve. You know what? This is a job where you do. You do. This is a job where it's all heart. This is a job where you do put your heart on your sleeve. You put your emotions out there. People got to understand that you're not a callous, sweet old boy, only they're going to use the initials, that you do care. You do care about what's going on. You do care about the people. You do wear your heart on your sleeve, and there's decisions that are made that do affect you. You lose sleep. This isn't Kmart. We don't leave aisle 7 and the blue light special and go home at 5 o'clock. This is a job where, it's 24/7, that it affects you. You're thinking about it. You're always thinking about this job. And I don't care if you're on days, you're on shift, it doesn't matter. How you're compensated, I could care less. This is a job that gets in your bloodstream. Therefore, if it's in your blood, Rick, your heart's on your sleeve with it. And they will wear their emotions, but they have to realize that if they've got the support and they realize that they must change, which is another attitude that you have to beat that into people as they get promoted, and that is that you will change. You are not the same person. Oh, you have the same set of core values, but the day that you accept the mantle of responsibility of being a leader, you change. You absolutely do. You're responsible for a different set of standards, a different set of benchmarks, and you're responsible for the lives of those people. Walk through that dormitory. Look at those open lockers and the pictures of the spouses and the kids hanging there. That's an awesome responsibility when you cross the threshold with those people that are riding behind you.
And a lot of folks have a hard time making that adjustment.
They do.
And you're exactly right. I mean, it's an emotional, heart-pounding, kind of heart-filling, that you got that feeling beating in your chest, that just makes you love this job.
Sure.
But you got to be ready for the good and the bad. And you just hit on something that I talk about with some of my guys, is that fire service maturity level. I don't mean nana boo-boo. I mean, you can remember the first time you went to a fire where the enthusiasm and energy was still there about, wow, we're going to a job. But all of a sudden you were thinking more tactics and strategy. And you just hit it. You go from firefighter or, to whatever rank that is, engineer, driver, whatever, to that first grade, company grade officer, maybe lieutenant. And here we have captains. If you're not willing to make that adjustment, right, Tom? I mean, if you're not willing to understand that, as corny or dramatic as it sounds, you are responsible for their safekeeping, and you hit on something I actually changed, Tom. I used to say it's my job to make sure you go home at the end of your shift or at the end of the call if you're a volley, to your family. I don't say that anymore. I tell people it's my job to make sure you go home at the end of your career,
right,
to your family. And you mentioned that. You hit on that exactly earlier.
Yeah, absolutely, Rick. Absolutely, and it's so critical. And when you said, what do you tell that new officer that walks in? It's all these things, and it's never a 5-minute conversation. It's a constant nurturing, mentoring process. But it is a change. It absolutely is a change. You have changed. I have changed. We are not the same people that we were when we were in the previous grade, in the previous rank. You can't afford to be. Sure, it's development, and and there's a lot of time spent in talking about leveraging departments, cultures, and getting firefighters to unite for common causes, and helping people develop effective relationships and participated management. But the fact of the matter is, we go out the door at 2:00 in the morning as a team, as a company, and people are going to turn to you. You call the ball. You make those decisions. How many times, Rick, have you come out of a situation and you get that cold chill runs down the middle of your back, and you say, "Boy, I got out of that by the grace of God."
Exactly.
You know what? Are those things going to happen? Absolutely. But through experience, through calculated decisions based on good judgment, through past bad judgments and bad experiences, we're not going to repeat. We're not going to repeat those. That's part of the dilemma that we're finding. We're repeating a lot of the same the issues that are killing us, and we can't afford to continue those dangerous trends. Well, now down at the company level, They have to understand the awesome responsibility that they have. And, it sounds melodramatic, but there's nothing that appeals more to me when, there's a promotional process and everybody's hitting the books and somebody isn't going to challenge the test. And you say, how come you're not taking the lieutenant's test or the captain's? We have commissioned lieutenants and captains and battalion chiefs here. And how come you're not taking the test? Boss, I'm just not ready for it yet. I'm not ready to be a company officer yet. I want to ride backwards more. I want to become better in the position I'm in now as a firefighter or a lieutenant or so. And you know what? Good. Okay, go ahead and challenge the test. But good that you realize, I'm not ready.
Well, and also be good at where you're at. I mean, some guys, if you choose not to, I'm satisfied, I'm not ready, I'm not good at where I'm, at maybe at that yet, I need a little bit more work, I need a little bit more time doing what I'm doing, that's great. Continue to study, continue to read, continue to watch, continue to learn, but still remember to be good at wherever you're at. If you, we've got, how many firefighters have you known that have been firefighters for 30 years in a job, never promoted, and they're incredible firefighters because they said, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this the best way I can.
Absolutely, and they're some of the best, and they're journeyman firefighters, Rick, and we need them. We need them. Thank God they're there. They're there to teach others.
Some of them are teaching your company officers.
Well, you know what? They are. And sometimes, Rick, it's that little tug on the truckman's belt, Yo, pal, slow down just a little bit. Yo, pal, I don't think you really want to go in there, do you? Why not? Take a look at this.
Hey, do you remember when we were down here together? We were sitting next to each other, almost 7-8 years ago at the I-Chiefs conference in Dallas, and they had the commandant from the Marine Corps up there.
Mm-hmm.
He's telling a story about getting whapped in the head with a helmet, and I think he was a lieutenant or whatever, and it was his sergeant that whapped him and said, "Where you going?"
And don't we have to be receptive to that? Is there anything, years ago, it would, oh my God, it would be blasphemy for somebody in a subordinate rank to call somebody on a decision they make. But now, why not? So be it. Are we so above reproach that somebody can't say, hey, with all due respect, how come we're doing it this way?
Well, you've said that before, Tom. You've always said, you know what, sometimes you got to challenge some things, ask questions. And you told me, Rick, because I asked you, I said, should I? And you said, yeah, you got to go question it, but my only advice to you is don't be insubordinate.
Well, yeah,
respect the rank and go in there.
There's a way to do it. If somebody's, hey, look at the safety initiatives. My God, the seatbelt issue. Okay, hey, Chief, how about putting your seatbelt on? You want us to put our seatbelt on? Oh, yeah, absolutely. You have to lead by that example. You have to walk the talk. It has to take place because they've got to realize how important it is, and that's back to your wearing your emotions on your sleeve. They got to realize, look in your wallet, look in your locker, guys. This is high stakes poker. This is a dangerous business. But it is unacceptable. It is unacceptable to maintain the attitude that you and I heard when we came into this profession, and it is, well, people are going to die in this business.
Well,
that's an accepted statistic. No, it's unacceptable.
Right.
It's absolutely unacceptable. We've got to change the culture. We've got to change the mindset. We've still got to be tough firefighters. We've never been better educated, Rick. We've never been better protected. Our officers have got to understand, though, the company officers, they've got to understand what the limitations are. And in doing that, they've got to know their own limitations, and they got to know their people. How many times, here's the company officer, okay, guys, you got the bars, you got the iron, you got the rear building, you got your outside vent, you're the roof. What are you going to do? Let the firefighters ask what the expectations are of their company officer. That's the part of the two-way street that oftentimes doesn't get addressed.
Well, and that's often, you're right, exactly, because a lot of places won't foster that atmosphere, that environment where you can actually sit down and ask that question because,
sure.
Hey, wait a minute, you don't ask me nothing, kid. You just do what I tell you, and
right.
and all this, and there's not that two-way kind of like you said, that.
What do you want me to do for you?
Information. Exactly.
What do you want me to do for you?
All right, we're visiting with Chief Tom Freeman, Lyle Woodridge Fire District in Illinois, and in the suburbs of Chicago. There, Tom, this has been what an incredible hour. I mean, it just. I mean, this is like old times, pal, sitting around having pizza, solving all the problems in the fire service. First, I want to ask you before we look at kind of closing things out. Can I get you back on the show again?
Oh, I'd be honored. I was touched that you thought to give me a call, and it is like old times, and so much can be accomplished just by doing what we're doing, and that's talking and communicating. First, I was concerned that everybody else said no, which is why you finally got to me on the list. But no, I'd be honored, absolutely.
Well, Tom,
I'd be glad to.
If you were last little bit here, if you were gonna, again, what give me a Rick Lasky, new lieutenant, Chief Freeman. Give me a one-liner here. What should I do, buddy? Give me one bit of a little chunk, a gold nugget of advice.
Be true to yourself and be true to your people. Realize that you don't know everything. Realize that there's a lot to learn, and just be honest. You may not be the smartest person in the world, but you're out there in front of people. They're looking to you to make decisions. Be true to yourself. Be true to them. Protect them. Remember where you came from. One of the greatest things when I hear other chiefs, you talk to them and they say, "Well, I'm a fireman. I'm a fireman first." Rest his soul, Peter Gansey. Pete was a firefighter, and those are the kinds of things that we do need to remember. And as company officers, remember where you came from, remember your roots, protect your people, but also realize at the same time, Lieutenant Lasky, remember at the same time that you do have to hold them to a standard. There's a line, and there's a hard line. We can have fun. It's a firehouse. It's a family. It's a dear family. We hold them as dear as we do our own family. But the fact remains that here's the line. We can have a lot of fun. We can put the flour on top of the blades of the ceiling fan, and wait for the third platoon to turn it on in the morning. And we can have those kinds of things. We can sprinkle the dust around the baseboards and tell them that we had the exterminator in yesterday. The place was rat infested, and that's to take care of it and have people scampering for days. You can have a lot of fun in the firehouse. The fact remains that when the line is crossed, there's a consequence, and you have to be prepared for that. And that's where you're not the buddy. You're not doing them any favor by being a buddy. And Rick, what you need to do is you need to decide right here and right now, as you become a new officer, you need to decide you're going to make decisions that people like, or you're going to make decisions that people respect. Now, if you want to be liked, if you want to count Christmas cards, that's okay, but you won't be respected. You make the hard call, Rick. You make the tough decision. When people cross the line, there's a consequence. They may not like you for calling them. They may not like you for holding them accountable, but they'll respect you. And it sounds contradictory, but if you don't hold people accountable, consistently accountable, they'll never respect you. You may be liked. You may be the nice guy. You may be the good old boy. You're going to have one hell of a time looking yourself in the mirror. The man in the glass is going to look back and realize that you cheated him.
Do your job. And Tom, I want to mention this before we close things out. I think this should be in every kitchen of every firehouse. Chief Freeman brought up earlier, shut up, listen up, clean up, and step up. Write that down, put it in the firehouse, and in your training room, put the phrase "never ever be satisfied," man.
No, you can't be.
Tom,
you can't be.
Tom, if the folks want to get a hold of you, what's a good email for you, buddy?
Oh, I'd be honored. Well, first of all, I'd invite anybody to visit our website, LWFD, as in Lyle Woodridge Fire District, LWFD.org, and you can reach me directly at T Freeman, TFREEMAN, at that website at LWFD.org, and be a pleasure, and I'd be glad to hear from anybody. And Rick, I'll tell you something, pal, from the bottom of my heart. You talk about wearing your emotions on your sleeve. I love you. We've been together a long, long time. Been through a lot of stuff, and you've always been a tremendous friend. And I admire the hell out of you. I respect what you're doing out there, and that godforsaken state of Texas where it's so hot, and I don't want to hear about it's a dry heat. You mentioned when I was out there for the conference, we went out for a fire at 6 o'clock in the morning. It was 104 degrees. And I thought they obviously did not give you a psychological when you got the chief job out here.
They would have. I'd never be here.
No, but I truly look forward to seeing you soon, and you're always as close as the phone, and you may think that I've been a great mentor to you, pal. You don't know what you've done for me, and God bless you. And it's just been an honor talking with you,
Tom. I love you. You're my brother. Thanks for everything you've done for me in my life, and I know this is all. I'm telling you, you're incredible, and you have no idea what you did for me, and I'm indebted to you. We're going to get Chief Tom Freeman from the Lisle Woodridge Fire District back on this show again, I promise you, because I know some of my guys will be asking about it. Please get a hold of Tom with that email. Check out their website. Lisle's doing some pretty incredible things. They always have been a mover and shaker in the Chicagoland area. You can get a hold of me at rick@prideandownership.com. Let's hear what you're doing. A lot of folks have been sending some great stuff. Again, until we see you next time, as always, be safe.